Ungrateful, my father said, his voice sharp enough to slice through the room. Beside him, my stepmother laughed, the kind of laughter that sounds like cruelty dressed up as humor. The others at the table followed suit, soft, polite, practiced. I didn't move. I just smiled, pretending it didn't sting. "You're right," I said quietly. "I should thank you for showing me what love isn't." The room fell silent. Karan's grin faded. Mariam's glass trembled in her hand. Johnny just stared at me, eyes cold and steady. I lifted my glass and stood. "A toast," I said softly, "to the last time you'll ever see me." And I meant every word. My name is Parineeti, the daughter they tried to erase from their perfect family portrait. But that night, I decided to erase myself instead, on my own terms. Before I tell you everything, say hi in the comments or tell me where you're watching from. It's good to know I'm not alone, because what I'm about to share, it's not just revenge, it's a revelation. The silence that followed me home that night wasn't peace. It was punishment. No laughter, no crystal glasses, just the hum of the refrigerator and the echo of everything I had lost. I opened my laptop and the ghosts came back, pixel by pixel. There I was at my law school graduation, my name called across the stage, my smile wide, my heart full. I searched the crowd for my family, but their seats were empty. Strangers clapped for me by day, not them. Hours later, a message from Mariam appeared. "Sorry, we couldn't miss Karan's birthday. It's once in a lifetime." Once in a lifetime. So was mine. I told myself to forgive, to move on, to understand. But some wounds don't heal. They harden. Then came the second blow. An email from the bank. Subject line, account activity notice. My mother's education fund. Gone. Authorization signature? Johnny. When I called, his voice was calm, almost bored. "Karan needed a little help," he said. "You'll figure it out." That tone, steady and cold, hurt more than yelling ever could. 2 jobs, 3 loans, and nights fueled by coffee and exhaustion. Still, I smiled when people asked how I was doing. I studied by candlelight because the electricity had been cut off. But I kept going. One day, Mariam called, not to ask about me, but to brag. "Karan's startup got featured in a magazine," she said sweetly. "Isn't that exciting?" I said nothing, just stared at my resume, wondering if dignity could fit between those lines. Because that's what good daughters do, right? They stay quiet, they endure. But silence doesn't heal anything. It festers. They erased my presence, but not the proof of what they'd done. The day I decided to leave Nomul, the city felt heavier than usual. Every corner whispered their names: Joni, Mariam, Karan. Every headline felt like a reminder of what silence had cost me. I packed one suitcase, my laptop, the evidence, and a single photo of Parineeti's mother, the only piece of her they hadn't destroyed. Zoya, my mother's sister, was the only one in this family who ever looked at me with real kindness. I hadn't seen her since the funeral. Back then, she'd held my hand and whispered, "You're not alone." Ganesh was 600 miles of dust, quiet, and long roads. By the time I arrived, the sun was melting into the horizon, a sky painted in colors that almost looked like forgiveness. When Zoya opened her door, her eyes carried years of knowing. She didn't ask why I came. She simply said, "You're ready now, aren't you?" Inside, her house smelled of cedar and old paper. Stacks of letters, faded photos, memories waiting to speak. She brought out a small wooden box, edges worn smooth, the lid scratched with time. "Your mother wanted this kept safe," she said. "I held on to it until you could face it." Inside was Parineeti's mother's original will, her handwriting steady and sure. The education fund, mine alone. No transfers, no exceptions. My throat tightened. It wasn't about the money. It was proof that she had believed in me, that once love had been real. Zornia spread more papers across the table. Bank statements, transfer logs, all pointing to Karan's startup. She hesitated, then handed me another file. Technical access records, timestamps, login IDs. Someone had remotely entered my computer. The same week Karan helped me set up my Wi-Fi? That project I lost, the one that reappeared under his name, it hadn't been my mistake after all. Everything suddenly made sense. The forgotten graduation, the missing funds, the stolen ideas. It was all connected. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" I asked. "Because you weren't ready," Zoya said gently. "You still wanted their love to be real." Her words didn't break me. They made me stronger. I looked at the papers. Ink, dates, signatures. Truths that refused to hide anymore. It wasn't rage that filled me. It was clarity. Cold, clean, undeniable clarity. They thought they buried me in silence, but silence can be broken. Back in Nomel, the city no longer felt like home. It felt like a stage I had outgrown. One morning, a courier arrived with an envelope. White, thick, embossed in gold with the Joni family crest. Inside was a letter, polite on the surface, venom underneath. "In the spirit of family harmony, we invite you to voluntarily withdraw from the estate and trust planning process." Words like goodwill and understanding sprinkled across the page, disguising what it really was: an eviction from my own family. They wanted me to disappear and call it my choice. I almost laughed. After everything, they still thought control came in wrapped in manners. I poured myself a glass of wine, even though it was barely noon. The warmth steadied my hand as I signed their papers. Then, below the printed lines, I added my own words. "I don't want a cent from those who never wanted me, but I will keep the truth." My pen shook, not from doubt, but from release. Every stroke cut another thread tying me to their illusion. They would think they'd won, that I had surrendered, but surrender and silence aren't the same thing. That night, I opened my laptop, and the ghosts came back, pixel by pixel. The folder marked Proof glowed on the screen. Emails, bank records, signatures, the will. All ready. Subject line: "You should all see this." No explanation, no accusation. Just 4 attachments, sent to every inbox that mattered. The moment I clicked send, the sound felt final, like closing a door that would never open again. Hours later, the headlines hit. The Joni cover-up, stolen funds, erased names, family lies. That same night was the Joni Foundation Gala, chandeliers glittering, cameras flashing, every guest pretending not to know. Mariam stood at the podium, her practiced smile cracking under the lights. Joni's jaw clenched, his knuckles white. The orchestra faltered mid-song, whispers rippled through the hall. Karan? Nowhere to be seen. Their empire didn't crumble because I destroyed it. It collapsed because it was hollow. By morning, their denial was everywhere. Quran called it slander. Joni called it betrayal. Mariam called it fiction. They sent out statements polished to perfection. Our daughter is unwell. She's been struggling for years. Please respect our privacy. The same lie they'd always used. Bury the truth by burying me. But this time, I didn't respond. I didn't argue. I just watched as their own lies began to devour them. Then my phone buzzed. It was Mariam's number. I let it go to voicemail. Her voice cracked with anger. "We've lost everything because of you. I hope you're proud." I stopped the recording halfway, deleted it, and realized something profound. Pride had nothing to do with this. I didn't need revenge.
Her begging texts, Dad's promises, photos from their vacations during hard times. Dad's face turned red. "You're embarrassing us." "No," I said, clicking again. "You embarrassed yourselves. I just brought receipts." Pinky stood beside me, silent but strong. For once, we weren't rivals. We were sisters. Auntie Zoya began to clap. "It's about time someone told the truth." Dad's voice cracked. "Family matters should stay private." "Then maybe you shouldn't have hung a banner," I replied. The final slide showed the banner photo, with one line added. "Paid by Jasmine." Silence filled the room, clean, complete. And in that silence, I felt something lift. Not victory, not revenge, just release. They built a legacy on lies. I ended it with truth. 6 months later, Emmett feels like a new world. Rain taps softly against my Jasmine condo windows. The city glows below. Peaceful, alive. Pinky sits across from me at a cafe. Hair pulled back, eyes finally calm. "I still can't believe they tried to add your name to the deed," she says. "Their version of an apology," I reply. "And you turned it down?" "I already own my own place," I tell her. "What I want isn't property. It's respect." She smiles. For the first time, we see each other clearly, not as rivals, but as sisters. My phone buzzes. A newsletter headline reads, "Anderson Team Wins Innovation Award, Compliance Solution of the Year." Pinky grins. "Vice President Jasmine has a nice ring to it." I laugh. Better than secret mortgage payer. Later that evening, I cook pasta with friends. Laughter fills the kitchen. No guilt, no tension, just life. On Tuesdays, I teach at the community center. A group of women sit with notebooks open as I speak about money, boundaries, and self-worth. Boundaries aren't selfish. They're a form of respect, even with family. One young woman raises her hand. "But what if it's your parents?" I smile gently. "Especially then." At home, I open my journal and write, Year 1, my authentic life. Under it, 3 truths. 1, worth isn't measured by sacrifice. 2, love without respect is just control. And 3, starting over at 29 isn't failure, it's courage. I step onto my balcony. The sunset paints Mount Rainier pink. My phone buzzes again. Mom's new post. Family should be forever. I smile, close the app, and whisper, yes, when it's built on truth. Because sometimes the greatest inheritance isn't money, property, or approval. It's the life you
finally claim as your own. And if you've ever been told that your worth depends on others, remember this. Peace isn't given, it's earned.